This week on Culture Leaders, I sat down with Max Schwendner and Mike Clifton, the co-CEOs of Alorica, one of the world's largest customer experience companies with over 100,000 employees across the globe. Max and Mike share one title, one vision, and one box, as they put it. They've built something rare in business, a co-leadership model that actually seems to be working. In this conversation, we unpack how they think, how they make decisions, and scale accountability and culture to frontline teams across continents. We talk about what it means to lead at scale with clarity and consistency, how to evolve a company during times of rapid technological change, and the mindset shift required to turn a traditional CX company into a digital powerhouse. They also speak candidly about trust, humor, friendship, and the day-to-day work of being better than you were yesterday, or as one of them puts it, sucking less tomorrow. This is a dynamic and down-to-earth conversation with two leaders who are challenging convention and winning. Please welcome to the podcast, Max and Mike. Well, welcome, guys. I'm so excited to interview two co-CEOs. This is going to be fun. I'm not even going to prompt you, so you guys are just going to have to fight over who talks first. Ready? What is your why?
Well, I'll check to the razor as always. My better and more attractive partner that I have, Mike. I'll let you go first. What's your why, Mike?
Oh, that's a tough one. So, I mean, I will start with, I think Max and I, when we took this job, first, thanks for having us. But second is the why is probably for me when we took this job, we're a people business. Inherently, we've got to build a strategy and an execution plan that enable people to be better every day. So the why that I think Max and I will share, but really rooted in my kind of DNA and background a little bit more specifically to me, is the pledge we made was to build a company that allowed people to get better every day. So my why was to sort of be the steward of the career. Provide kind of the things that were the feedback, the components of a good foundation, the strategy to execute, and then let them be accountable for that career path and allow us to help steward the strategy to align to that. So be their best self. And we've tried very hard to develop programs and some of those execution strategies to sort of enable people to do that. And it doesn't matter what level of people, right? We've got tens of thousands of agents in a lot of different countries. We've got, pure financial analysts, technologists. It's really rooted in the DNA that they've got to find ways to be successful, and we have to help build those paths. And then our strategy will follow, and success will follow. The one thing that's in my DNA is, and you'll know this about Max as well, we like to win. Whether it's sports oriented or a playbook within the business strategy, it's a design to win. So rooted in that is making sure that at the end of that, we are successful. And everybody knows what that success looks like, and they share in that success. So that's my why.
Well, I wish I had as good of a why as Mike, but I think my why would be two things. I think it's something that Mike and I both share as well. And one of the reasons why I think we work so well together is a love of curiosity. And getting up every day and trying to solve new problems in different ways. And I think we feel passionately about creating a new and endearing career and life path for a lot of different people, right? And, one of the things about this business is, I think is fair to say, most people think that their customer experiences are generally not good. And one of the things we feel passionately about is trying to make those customer experiences insanely great. And having that curiosity to ask why, try to find ways of solving a new problem in different and challenging the status quo. Mike and I, whether it's developing our people, integrating technology, being obsessed with performance, my why, and I think our why, I don't want to speak for you, Mike, but I think our why is also not only lifting up our people, but doing so by encouraging people to embrace curiosity. So that's, I think, that's the only little, coda I'd add at the end of your sentence.
Okay. So, there's so many things I want to ask you about. I want to talk about customer obsession. I want to talk about your culture internally, and I want to talk about co-CEOs. I mean, I have operated in an organization with co-CEOs. I was at Oracle for 10 years, and there was a co-CEO situation there. And it was basically separated into, for lack of a better word, operations and then sales. So how are you splitting this up? I mean, how do you share the duties, so to speak?
It's a great question. I'll start, Mike, and I know you'll fill in the gaps, whatever I say, which you do often. So um, there's one box that is the CEO of Alorica. There happens to be two people in it. And my background is more in operations and finance, and Mike's maybe more background in technology and sales. But there is not a bifurcation at all of people's reporting lines, responsibilities, or the decisions that get made.
Huh.
I think Mike and I take I think somewhat of a novel approach, but one that works really well for our company, which is a decision gets made by Mike or I, it's the decision of the box. And it will never be something that is, kind of wavered on or discussed publicly. And whether I make a decision about sales or Mike makes a decision about finance or whichever other combination of situations you want to think about, there's one decision and it comes from the box. And I think the only way we get there, and Mike and I joke about this all the time, is we spend more time talking to each other than we do our spouses. So
Yeah.
we've become very good friends and even better partners as a function of that. So Mike knows intuitively what I'm going to say, and I think I know what intuitively Mike's going to say. So we have a very good job of answering one question once, and it comes from one box, but from two people with two different skill sets and backgrounds that brings to a better overall answer in our view.
Okay, so for clarity's sake, the entire executive team reports into both of you. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, so if I'm your CMO or COO or whatever,
Sure.
I'm going to start to notice who gives me the answer that I want and call that person first to get the right answer. Does that happen?
I would tell you maybe in the beginning, that might have been a strategy of the people who work for us, but what they figured out quickly was that you're likely 99.9% of the time going to get the same answer. So we studied the Netflix CEOs, we studied a bit of the Oracles, the Googles, and what we decided to do was, for simplicity's sake, the one cultural attribute we were trying to build was decisiveness into the engine. Right? We considered ourselves to be nimble, but we weren't nimble or decisive as fast enough. And it was causing a bit of consternation in both our execution of the plans, but it also caused a lot of people to sort of not take accountability and let the decisiveness become the excuse. So what we decided was, the best answer here, it was for Max and I to huddle and build a corporate strategy. It was so unified, and we built it based on small chunks of very specific amounts of change and innovation. And we labeled those in small S-curves. And we kind of layered them on top of one another so that Max and I knew what the next 24 months were going to be. And what we decided to do was unify everybody around what we needed to do, get those short-term goals aligned. We build goals for the company on the quarter. Because we know where we want to go in the year, but we also know if we don't tackle these objectives in this quarter, we won't be successful for the year. So everyone uses the quarter to unify together. That kind of unification pretty much builds an insular layer about what you're saying, which is you don't really have the opportunity. You know what you're focused on. Max and I are very crisp and clear on this is the quarter's goals, and this is where we're going. And you're probably heads down getting the work done, more so than looking for Max and I to make every decision for you. And that helps with a lot of what you're talking about, is it takes it out of the system.
So Max, you were CFO, and Mike, you were external when this merge of CEOs happened, right? What was the courting process?
Actually,
Well,
no.
I wish
No,
I was
Mike-
courted.
I wish Mike was courted. I wish I was courted for what it's worth.
Okay.
We're stapled together at the hip. Mike has been my partner across a lot of different jobs he's had at Alorica. I was CFO. I ran other internal operational groups. Mike was CIO, ran sales for a while. And so we kind of had lots of different roles across the company. And so when the board asked us to make a change in leadership, Mike and I have played a lot of different roles and worn a lot of different hats that we still wear in different forms and fashions with our backgrounds and experiences that we bring to our co-CEO job. But there wasn't a courting process. I wish I could say I courted Mike to come join me and help me out. I think I'd be a very, very talented person that I could convince Mike to do anything. But I know that's not true. I know Mike can convince me to do a lot of things. So I will say, if anything, he's courting me, if that makes sense. So
whose idea was it? The board's?
That's
yours?
a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Our chairman, at the time that the board made a decision, our chairman gave Max and I the challenge to come up with an answer. I don't think he expected the answer to be, this is the model. And when he did, he sort of looked at us funny, started asking us very similar questions that you were asking. How is decision-making going to work?
And by the way, they're logical questions, right? They're questions that people asked right off the beginning. And our approach was a little, I guess, unconventional for this sector. But like, as you said about Oracle, Netflix, Google, lots of other sectors, companies that go through transformative change, Mike and I believe very, very concretely that 2 is better than 1 in this circumstance.
It actually is an outcome. I mean, think about the industry, right? You have some experience in it from years past. It's going through a big transformation. It's not hard to convince our board and our chairman that putting a technologist who has passion, skills around growing and building the business with a financial and operational instrumentation together in one's box kind of allows that transformation to happen, and do it in a planful way. I think the one thing that, up to your point about sort of how did this decision get made, I think the best part about the outcome we achieved was the plan. We spent many nights, weekends building what we considered to be the right answer for a longer term transformation of a CX company into a digital oriented, trusted value partner of our clients with a highest rank in performance against our peer groups. And that promise was really the thing I think that sold the board, saying, well, this will work.
So what are you most proud of since you teamed up? What outcome?
That's a good question. There's a lot to be proud of. We actually just released our first half results, right? We've sold out basically of most of our operations around the world. We have won more awards for our technology prowess, and we are ranked 1 or 2 amongst, I think the number's now up to 70+% of our clients. So we think we're focusing on the fundamentals and doing the right things the right way. I think the other thing to your question about the model of a co-CEO in a business as large as ours is, with as many people as we have, I think one of the things I'm very proud of is that Mike and I have operated seamlessly across many months, across thousands of decisions, and the company has really rallied behind the message and the vision that Mike and I have built through our longer term strategy. And it's coming to the fore in, like I said, recognition externally by our clients and internally. ENPS has never been higher. Customers have never been happier. We were recently at a conference in New York not that long ago. And we got a few comments from a few of our competitors that asked us to slow down and stop visiting as many places at once, or trying to stop doing so many things, because they said, you're making us look bad. I said, that's tough because there's 2 of us, so we have to be in as many places at once as possible. So good luck. I hope you can keep up, and I'll see you on the next flight, was basically the message that Mike gave. So there's a lot to be proud of. Yeah, well, I listen, I'm not braggadocious, but but when you're ahead on the count.
Okay.
That's right. I'm a big baseball fan. When you're ahead on the count as a hitter. So that's what I would say. I don't know, Mike, if you'd say it differently.
No, listen, there's about a change that went in, right? The culture was it was a 180 for a lot of the company. Accountability, live up to your job performance, stewardship of your career, investments in talent, investments in the ability to train people better, AI adoption across the spectrum, whether in skilling people with AI tools or onboarding with AI assessments, or lots of. Max and I have built the amount of change that we were able to endure is probably the proudest. Max and I say this all the time, is we're always going for more, right? As stewards of this business and the winning kind of guys we are, we always want more. And we'd have to take a pause and look backwards a little bit. And I think the proudest moment is summarizing it all when you look and you go, whoa, like it was, I think it was a lot. And we're really proud of the 100,000 Aloricans that kind of made the journey. We can't do it. So we're
No.
probably proud most of the people who were able to take what we had in words in a plan and actually make it an actionable event. I think that really made us. I mean, we don't do a lot of that, looking backwards, but we do it. We did it enough recently in the second half release we just did, where we well, we've really done quite a bit. So that's probably a proud moment for us.
Are you guys? You talk about accountability a lot. Are you familiar with the book The Oz Principle?
Mm-hmm.
That's us. That's our IP, Culture Partners.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
hopefully we had some part to play in your accountability mindset and driving that. So one of the questions I want to ask you is, you keep talking about the strategic plan. You came together, both minds collided, created this incredible strategic plan, small S curves, and then quarterly goals, right? How do you scale a strategic plan to 105,000 Aloricans, all the way down to the front line? That is the code to crack, right? How have you done that?
That is the code to crack.
I will start with one comment, and Max is probably better at this than me. We have our passion projects, so we do know what we're good at, and we're very clear on that. But one thing that I think you have to establish is a set of rules. And those rules you started with is one CEO box. It makes a decision, whether it's Mike or Max or both on a call. It is what it is. Move on.
Always.
The second set of rules is we have an operating committee. We have an operating drill that enabled that plan. And that operating committee is 25 people across the company that work directly for Max and I. The ability for us to influence those folks at that size and scale automatically allows the sort of penetration into the operating teams that really do the day's work. And
Wait, before you keep going, just clarify, what is the difference between an operating committee and your executive team? Is that just a different name, or what is that?
Yeah, it's the same. There may be a few people on the operating committee that have very influential jobs that don't necessarily report to Max and I, but they are so influential to large quantities of people that it's important that they sit on that OC level and be able to hear directly from us on a weekly basis. Where are we? What are we doing? What's next in the horizon? And then more importantly, communications. It is a very quick way of Max and I being able to say, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. Let's call the ball, call the baby ugly, if you want to call it that way. Let's just fix these things. And it enables a lot of what would be the telephone tag game that sits on hierarchies as big as ours to go away. And I think the communications piece with that group is crisp, and that helps with that dissemination of the actions for the quarter. I mean, that's my viewpoint. Max, add to that?
I think that's great. I think the only thing I would add to that is not only communications within that group, but also communications more broadly. I think one of the best things that Mike and I have done is establish a strategy right off the bat of where we're going as a company that everyone in the company can understand. There are 3 key principles that we have that it doesn't matter if you're a finance person, an operations person, a salesperson, an HR executive, a trainer, whatever job you have, a TA manager, everyone can see those same 3 priorities in their job every day. And they're simple, but complex, and they have a lot of, let's call it scope to them. And so whether it's an agent or it's all the way up to the COO of our firm or anyone in between, there's the same 3 priorities for us for every person in the firm. So Mike's point is exactly right. We have a core leadership team that we're really in tune with where we're driving the business. But just as important is the communication to the entire pyramid of our company, right? Which is the bottom of the pyramid all the way through. So no one is surprised. No one's marching in a different direction. With 100,000 plus people, it's very important that everyone's moving in the same direction versus fighting each other, right? And so one of the things I think we started off with was, in full transparency, when we were first appointed as co-CEOs, we went on a world tour and tried to go to as many sites as we could around the world of all the people that work for us. One of the first questions we asked whenever we would do agent roundtables, as an example, was, "Do you guys know who we are?" And they would say, "No, I have no idea who you guys are."
Well,
We
to
said, "That's
be
great.
fair, you're both bald. You both have names that are short that start with M.
You
It's
know what? That's fair.
probably
That's fair.
confusing.
It's confusing. I mean, listen, one of us is, a Yankee fan, is on the right side of history. One of us is not. That's okay. That's okay. We'll get there. But we, I think, got people across the base of our business through getting Mike and I firmly believe that this kind of a business is one that has to be managed with a hands-on approach in the field, meeting people, understanding their challenges, and making sure they understand the strategy you have at a macro level and a micro level. And I think that is what I would say.
You called them 3 principles and then 3 priorities. Is that a strategic priority or cultural principles that drive decision making?
More strategic priorities.
Okay. So they're like the big bets we're making to win.
Yeah.
Can you share them?
Yeah. So let me I'll give you sort of the context by which the simplicity needed to be there. What we used to do as a company was set, goals for this firm, and everybody would then do the typical goal alignment. How do I do my job that aligns to this goal? And it cascaded.
Right.
Max and I took a different approach. We have 3 strategic priorities as a company. We will be digitally native by leading with digital tools in all aspects of our business, whether for automation or for benefit of economics or for the client's benefit. All things have to be thought about in terms of an AI and digital lens. That's number 1. Principle number 2 is that talent is the most important thing. So everyone should invest in it, know where they stand within it, can consume it, and be better every day, right? Max has a theory and we follow it every day, which is just be better tomorrow than you were today. It's all we're asking. We're not asking you to leapfrog everybody. We're not asking to compete with each other. We're just saying measure yourself and be a little bit better tomorrow. And if we can provide some foundational tools, what are those? We'll give them to you. And we've done some great things there. And we've seen a lot of EMPS benefits. The last of the ones that has probably the highest potential benefit for our company is we have to perform at the top tier of our industry. So in every company that we have a relationship with that is not just brand new, but has a maturity of 20 plus years with us, we want to be in the ranking of that performance as number 1. So strive for being the best. That pulls a lot of the other priorities forward because you're innovating, you're thinking, you're adding to the sort of stockpile of IP as you do that. So for us, those 3 things are the principles. Everyone can adhere to any one of those things and move the company forward, right? So but prior to that, it was hard to know where my goal aligned, right? And so now it's very simple. And we don't ask everybody every quarter to do something in every specific priority. We say, which priority can you affect the most this quarter? Let's focus on that and make some incremental benefit. That's probably the best unification that we could do across the company.
Okay, that's really interesting. Okay, so let's talk about customer obsession, because in the work that we do, we're working with executive teams and we're helping them identify which cultural beliefs, shared beliefs are getting in the way of us achieving the results that we want to achieve, and which beliefs do we want to nurture more so that we can achieve our big goals for the future. And customer obsession is like always at the top of the list. Almost always, right? It is. I have noticed it over the last 15 years become more and more frequent in the top cultural belief that executives want to see out of their employees. And so there's this EX, the employee experience versus the customer experience, which one is more important debate that I think used to be one way and is now moving the other way. Have you seen that debate? You have talent as one of your principles. Where do you stand on that?
Well, let me start. I think happier, better trained, more confident employees make a better experience for our customers and their customers.
Right.
I think fundamentally, people that we have are proud to work at Alorica. They're proud of the work that they do. And if you look across countries we operate in, whether it's, they express it in lots of different ways, and through, a tremendous amount of pride for their individual programs. Even when we ask them if there's one thing about your job that us as CEOs could change, 9 times out of 10, they say, well, if you could fix this one thing on the client system, that would really help us because we really want to make sure that our clients are treated better. And the only reason why they answer that question that way, and Mike, in my mind, is because we really take a lot of care in taking care of them as employees, right? And we think, treating our employees with an insanely great experience helps them have an insanely great outcome as it relates to serving our clients. And the 3 things we just talked about in terms of our priorities, by the way, have resonated, I think, across almost every executive meeting that Mike and I have had with, whether it's, CEOs, business leaders, across verticals of telecommunications, BFSI, healthcare, retail. There's a very natural dovetail to what our strategy, which is just to be the best, right? And it's very easy to say, it's very hard to do, both be the best for our employees, to enable them to be the best for our customers and their customers. And so I don't think it's an or proposition. I think, oftentimes one of Mike's favorite things to say is it's not an or, it's an and issue, right? It's how can we have a great EX and a great CX in terms of what we do. And I think it's working. Whether that's expressed in ENPS, a great place to work, lower than ever attrition rates. Our focus is really around reducing the friction that exists in this business so that people can be their best and happiest self, and do a great job.
Yeah, you said it well, Max. I think your point about EX and CX, what's interesting is you have a business unit that serves one of our clients. It could be 10,000 people. They almost take the DNA of the client on as sort of their execution engine. What we have to do for those employees is know that our company, Alorica, is at the core of making sure that they can do that job well every day. So the things that we have to provide, Max's passion project was really been around this concierge service. If you need to do something within the company, it should be easy, fast, and quick. And that should be handled, both in technology and people, so that you can focus on making sure the experience with the clients are the best. So we've tried to build a sort of set of services around making sure that the core of Alorica's capabilities is known, it's respected, it's really proud of it, but also consumed easily and made frictionless. And so that helped us with the EX experience. The CX side, I think our clients know us well. They've been with us for a long time. We've got so many long tenured clients that just have seen the DNA of an entrepreneurial company grow to, multi-billion-dollar entity, 100,000 people, global centers. And they're proud. They're equally as proud of having that journey with us. And now at the top stack of that rank, our people are just so much more confident. And they're so much more prouder than they are. Some of our celebrations are Max and I are a little over the top, but it's fun to come to a center and see the actual experience of our clients, kind of commingled with what we've done for them. It's really a good moment.
What's over the top? You can't just drop that and not tell us what's happening.
Well, I'll say it this way. Max and I are not, if you look at us, and to your point about stereotyping.
Did I make a point about stereotyping, or did I just say you're both bald?
Yeah. I went
you
with
said
that.
it. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
You
It's
might
okay.
you might also imply we don't have any rhythm, but some of the things that we do when we go there is Max has to dance when we get to certain locations because the cultural attributes of things is sharing in the local area. So salsa, or in the Philippines, he's sort of breakdancing quite a bit, but it's quite fun. Those are the over the top moments.
Okay, can we play?
Or Mike's attempts at singing, for what it's worth. He fashions himself more of a
Dead cats.
Andrea Botticelli kind of man, but he's really more of a stringing a dead cat kind of a problem.
You need one more co-CEO that can act, and then you'll be the triple threat.
There you go. Yeah, we don't need another comedian, that's for sure.
Okay, so I want to play a game. Can we play a game?
Sure.
I want to ask you both a question. You have to think of the answer with one word answer only, and then say it at the same time, and we'll see how close you guys are. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So we have to say it at the same time.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to count to 3. So first I'll tell you the question and wait, and then I'll give you a moment to think about it. You have to come up with a one-word answer, and then we'll count to 3, and we'll hear if your answers are...
This is a test to see how our brains have commingled.
Yes.
So,
How are you actually AI bot that has merged or not? Okay,
Digital
so the
twins.
first question is, what is Alorica's greatest challenge right now? In one word. Are you ready? Max is still looking around the room.
I'm not. I listen. I confess that I have a predilection for word choice, so it's very unlikely that Mike and I are going to say the same word. I just want to give you that
Oh, and I
pretext.
don't think you should say it. This isn't a trick. Like, if you don't say the same word, you're bad co-CEOs. It's just
No.
let's just
I
see what
understand.
happens.
I'm just saying, if Mike answers potato and I say, transformational future
Stop trying
society.
to cue him about what your thing is going to be. Okay. Are you ready? What
Yes.
is
I'm ready.
Alorica's greatest challenge on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Growth.
Evolution.
Okay, those are kind of the same. So tell me more. Growth and evolution. The evolution of your growth? Do expand, please.
I'll answer the way I said growth because I use small words. Max is a thesaurus that's walking around daily. But the Max made a point earlier about the amount of capacity we have in our system is now in effect full. And when you're full and you have no more capacity to sell, you have to go build out new centers and find capacity, right? So I think in the challenge we have is, where's the best place where talent pools for us can fit the cultural DNA we need, as well as us being a impact in the region. We like to be an impact in the region, meaning we want to invest in the people, we want to get the attributes of the right cultural fit so that we are looked at as a plus to the ecosystem. So to me, finding those matches and looking at how we might do that strategically is sort of I think when you say challenge, it's as Max would say, it's the first world problem challenge, and we love having it, but it's one place where I say it's the spot we want to look at.
And evolution.
And Mike said it well. I think it would not be any conversation about our business in the future of our industry to not talk about AI and how we grow in a world of increasing AI utilization. And Mike's right. Growth is our primary focus. And I think how we grow needs to evolve, right? So what we did 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 5 years ago or yesterday needs to be different than what we do tomorrow or next quarter or next year, or 2 years, 5 years from now. The services we provide, what skills we look for, how we, to Mike's point, build communities and grow talent will need to continue to evolve. Mike and I both believe that the future of this business is solidly digital and involves a tremendous amount of AI. And I think we're well equipped, I think perhaps optimally equipped in our space to be nimble enough, entrepreneurial enough to seize that and make AI an asset, not something that's a risk to our business, and something we're seeing today. So when I say evolution, I mean evolution in how we approach growth. It's not just simply, to Mike's point, loading up another center, putting people in that center, doing the same thing we did yesterday. Mike doesn't think that. I don't think that. What we're thinking about growth is, how do you put people that are able to not only solve complex challenges that AI can't solve today, but work to improve AI, have a human in the loop process to really have a great experience. And you've probably experienced in your own personal life great experiences and bad experiences with different kinds of companies. We think it's a differentiating factor of the companies and brands you do business with. And I think evolving how we work with our clients and what we do with our clients to help them grow and deliver for their customers, I think is the future. And that's the challenge for our business. And it's still being written today. I don't think anyone in this space, whether they're the largest company in the space, the smallest company in the space, thinks, if anyone tells you they know the answer, they're lying to you.
That's my line. I
Still,
say, if anyone says they know what the future is, they're trying to sell you something.
that's right. That's right. Or they have a very small island too somewhere, and they shouldn't be giving opinions on anything anymore. So I totally appreciate what you're saying. So
Okay. Well, Mike, I heard basically Max just called you a simpleton. That's what I think I heard. He's like, it's not
Ye-
just growth.
yeah.
I mean, come on,
Listen,
it's evolution.
I know my part. My superpower is to make all those really complex things that Max does actually simple for everybody to understand. So I'm very good.
Brilliant. Okay.
that is hardly true at all. In fact, Mike does an excellent job of making very complex things look simple and think simple. But it is very challenging to do what Mike does. I'll say that much.
Let's play again. Can we play another round? I got another question.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And this is, in one word, how would you describe the Alorica culture? Wait,
Passion.
don't try and
He
get
said
ahead
that-
of this. We're doing it on 3. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Passionate.
Strong.
Okay, great. Tell me more.
So I'll
go ahead.
start this one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think one of the best things about taking this job has been the ability for Mike and I to get to meet people in person and see how passionate they are about their communities, about their projects they work on, and and our company. And it is intoxicating. And I use that word in a kind of an interesting way, because it drives Mike and I when we go and see it in person. It is it's very easy to be a keyboard warrior, and you're hot behind a screen and you're far away from the action. But our people are passionate. They want to win. To Mike's point, they deserve to win. They're fiercely loyal to our company, and they work hard every single day to do the right thing. So much so sometimes that I think our clients sometimes take advantage of that. But I'd rather it be that way than the other way around. MLBA, for an example, and we haven't talked about this at all, is our charity arm. It's just completely employee run. It is not governed at all by Mike and I. It is donations for people that struggle through challenges or different problems in their life. And there's this sense of community and culture and family and passion around doing the right things for each other that I really, people talk about culture being a differentiator, which I think generally, if you excuse the term, I think at other companies is a lot of bullshit. Here, it's absolutely true. It is, people are fiercely Aloricans. They wouldn't think of working anywhere else because of that, care and spirit of camaraderie that exists here. Whether it's in Latin America, Africa, India, the Philippines, North America, across the world, our people really try very hard to take care of each other. And it's something that I've never experienced in any other company I've been an investor in or been involved with. And so that's my long answer to a short question. So I'm sorry, Mike.
No, it's and I'll just maybe give an anecdotal story. Max and I, we referred to the fact when we go out in the centers and tour and meet the people, we do an agent, people on the phones. Max and I will sit and we'll hijack in, listen to calls with agents. just to get a sense of how their day goes. And then we go to a training manager, we go to an operations manager pool, and we get their feedback. The reason I use the word strong to talk about the cultural side of the business is you can feel it. And we always say, I wish we could bottle it, because it's something we could sell. Because when people come to our centers and visit us, the clients feel it. And then they leave with, wow, you guys have such a strong culture. Like, people seem to be motivated. They seem to be engaged. They seem to be inquisitive, right? That isn't common in our industry of this size and scale. And I think that's a pride moment for us, but it's also something we spend a lot of time in trying to instill, that there's a moat around our business where that culture provides an ancillary layer saying, we treat you with respect. We expect great performance. We expect a job well done. We expect you to get better every day, but we also respect you as an individual with the skills you have to get better. And we want to provide that attribute. I think when we say strong, you can feel it. And I think that's something I think is really what I would say is hard to instill and hard to create. But once you got it, that momentum to keep it is really good. It's really strong.
Well, it's beautiful. So my last question, and is also my favorite question, is what is something that you don't often get asked about in these type of interviews that you wish you were asked more often?
I'll go first on this one. I always laugh when this question comes up. The question that I would always want to be asked is, so how are you doing today? Because Max and I always ask the other side of that question, which is, so how are you doing?
Yeah.
No one ever wants to ask us how we're doing. Not that we could tell them how we're really doing, but the reality is, it would be nice. my Max and I joke because we spend more time with each other, but when we leave the room that we're encased in every day or center, maybe our wives would ask us, how you doing today? But they really don't want to answer. They just want to ask the question.
Wait, so you work you have an office, shared office?
No, we are literally
what is the room at Alorica Center?
No, so we go to the centers as sort of part of our ability to sort of get ingrained with the people. But if we're not traveling, which is usually every week, we are in our offices sort of separate, and we're both on the East Coast, which makes time zone easier to manage. But,
okay.
But to your point, I think the question your question was, I think the one thing I always answer is when someone says, how do you do what you do every day? That's the question I was like, we do get that question a lot. And Max and I flip the question back on them. We always say, we don't focus on the what, we always ask the why. And so when you interact with us, we're always asking why. And what we're trying to get is the logic. Like, we can work with the data, we can work with the process, but what's the logic that you're applying to this sort of outcome? And when people ask us the question, how would we think about it? We love that question because we can lay out the logic that we would approach, which then teaches them, right? Which makes the what an easier answer if we're all starting to do the same things the right way, the way we would approach it. So to me, I think there's, how are you doing today would be nice. If people listen to this, call me, ask me how I'm doing. And Max will call me and ask me how I'm doing.
Wait, Max, before you answer though, can I just riff on that really quickly? I mean, they're saying it's lonely at the top. It's probably a lot less lonely for you guys. You have a safe place
you're right.
to talk about the challenges of being a leader, because you can't really be as transparent as the leader because it's a little bit irresponsible, right?
You're more right than you know. I would say that one of the things that's great about having two of us, I think, selfishly, is that Mike and I can check in with each other all the time and ask how you're doing. And that's a very open and honest dialogue between us. What are you nervous about? What are you scared about? What are you happy about? But Mike's point's right. Like, having other people, kind of think about things through a broader prism than the myopic view of how they look at their own problem, such that like someone would be like, well, Mike, what do you think about this operational problem? Or Max, what do you think about this sales challenge? and be like, I have to worry about healthcare in India, what our travel policy is for EMEA, and, how this, that, the other thing is. And so your problem may seem very important to you, but there's a lot broader. No one's going to cry in their beer for Mike and I. I get that.
Shed a tear.
Or shed a tear for us. But
sometimes it's nice
Mike's,
to have someone shed a tear for you, even if you are a CEO. CEOs are people too.
Listen, it's nice to have someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of. And I think one of the things, to pick up on an idea that Mike mentioned earlier, and I think one of the things that's a superpower for us in this setup is the decision that we come up with is usually better than if either one of us made the decision, because both of us have the ability to iterate a bit on an idea and say, have you thought about it through that prism, through that prism, through that prism? Bang. That's the best answer, and run it through that way. To answer your question, what's something that you wish people would ask me? I ask people this question all the time, and I wish someone would ask me it, right? Which is, are you better today than you were yesterday? And honestly, sometimes yes, I am. And honestly, sometimes no, I'm not. Sometimes I'm worse. And, the joke is Mike tells me just don't suck today. And so I do my best not to suck today. But, I'm joking.
I don't say that. I say suck less tomorrow.
Suck less tomorrow. How's that? But I think it is to, if you leave it all out there in the field and you try as hard as you possibly can, and you can answer that question when you end your job at the end of the day, even if you didn't win every battle, or if you just tried as hard as you possibly could, just a little bit better every single day. I would hope someone asked me that question. Sorry.
Well, those were both beautiful answers. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so fun and interesting to learn. I mean, I'm not familiar with that model of co-CEOs where you are one box and you haven't split the organization into Max's side and Mike's side. And so I love the unity, your sense of humor, the thread that we didn't really explicitly talk about, but I think people should check out your podcast to look more into that. But it was subtly referenced, is this getting better every day, adversity not being necessarily failure, but a growth opportunity, and growing through adversity as a way to get better. That mentality, I know, is something that you both share, and I think it's just beautiful to see, and it's great leadership to role model. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Yeah.